We're out here going to do a little testing before we start working on our clutching. Just going to do a run down and back, so we can see what our top speed is now. So before we start dialing this thing in, we know what changes we made. Ready?
Alright. He screamed at me.
Finished her speed runs. Post the results right here, and we'll let you know when we change our clutching and get back out here and do it again. Just gonna take Colson for a little ride now because he is obsessed with side-by-sides. Can't do rides without taking Colson for a ride. Tonight we're gonna start taking her car apart. Her clutches will be here Saturday or Sunday, so it's quite a bit of work to get it tore apart, so we're just going to start on it tonight so it's ready to throw in. Since we only got so many days, we have to remove her seat, all these interior panels, and then all the bracketing for the seats that they bolt to, and it's tucked right back in there. So let's go ahead and get started. Your seat's out. Now, gotta pull off this panel and the rails and that panel right there, and then the clutch should be right behind this panel. But from what I've read, you can't take the clutch cover off without removing this panel, and then there's a bar that goes across the back here. So I'll get to work on that. We got the seat rails off, so now there's just some 10mm and 12mm bolts, and we should have those panels off. Should just slide right out. So now you got a clear visual of clutch cover there. So now we just got to pop out this panel, and they say this bar right here that goes across. So for now I just spun that out of the way, but now we're going to remove this crossbar here. There's 2 bolts on each side, and that should give us enough room to pull the clutch cover without removing the gas tank. And you're out. That's as far as we're gonna get tonight. I just wanted to start tearing it down and get as close as possible before everything got here so we could just slap it on, start tuning and go. So we'll come back tomorrow and maybe start pulling the clutch cover off. But we're all ready to do so. Just a bunch of these little bolts in the outside, remove these little intakes, and you're in there. Really not as big of a job as I thought it was going to be, but we'll see once we get inside there. But we'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to pop the case off. We have these 8mm bolts to go all the way around. These screws that hold the vent tubes on. Let's go ahead and get it popped off. Right, so once you remove all those bolts, there's 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, 1 on the side. Then you're ready to pop the cover off. So I'm gonna go get my dead blow, give it a couple taps, and it should pop right off. I don't know if we're gonna be able to clear that. People say you can finagle it out, but we'll find out. And there you have it. Actually popped right off. It was super easy to get by there. No issue at all. And there it is. Clutch and what's called the variator there. So her new part should show up tomorrow. And we'll be swapping all that out. I'll show you how to get it all off. So a bunch of clutch parts showed up today. We got everything except her belt. I think her belt's supposed to be here Monday. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all the stock stuff off, get it set up on the table over here, and we'll kind of go over what's different. Alright, so it's pretty straightforward to remove this stuff. Got a bolt here, 17 millimeter, and a 17 millimeter over there. Just hit them with your impact, pull them on off. So now, this front pulley here should just slide right off, save that washer I just dropped, and the belt should just slide right off of there, come off with the clutch right here. The belt actually looks surprisingly good for how hard she's beat on this thing. Clutch should just slide right off too. It's definitely dirty up in there. So when you're pulling this variator off, you want to wrap your fingers around the back because there are weights inside there that you don't necessarily want to drop in there. Oh, and that's it. Now we can head over to the table and kind of look at what we're changing. So we're at the table, we can kind of take a look at what we got going on here. So this assembly here is your front pulley. This back one here that goes against the motor, it's got a ramp plate and some weights inside there. And this is called a variator. So by changing these weights in here, it kind of changes how the car acts as far as, you know, what RPM you're going to be at your max speed and how fast you're going to hit that RPM. You know, as you rev it up, these weights will roll out on these ramps in here and push this ramp plate out, causing it to close the gap between the belt and push the belt up to the top of this pulley. And so by changing these weights in here, it can just change how the whole car acts. It's all Teflon coated in here. It's just a much nicer assembly, lighter weight. This is the stock one. It's got an upgraded clutch housing here, clutch bell, whatever you want to call it, and an upgraded clutch. It's got different RPM springs in here it's got a little bit more aggressive engagement. And this is called the contra spring. It's a 1500 RPM spring, which just kind of changes how the rear pulley acts. We're also changing this back pulley here. It's got different profiles in here to have a more aggressive ramp to it if you want. And yeah, everything really is just to make it more aggressive, give us a lot more adjustment. We got different springs, a whole wide range of weights that we got to test out. And here's the stock clutch assembly. So the only piece of this that we're going to wind up using is this back pulley here. You can see the wear on the clutch pads. And we'll disassemble this. We use a 1.5 inch socket, and the trick is to put it on the floor and press it with your feet, because one of these springs is sandwiched in between there. So there's quite a bit of force on there. They make a tool for it, but everybody I've talked to and all the videos I've watched, people have just kind of stood on them, hit it with an impact, and released it that way. So we'll go do that right now. Alright, do your best here not to let it spring up and hit you in the face. There you go. So, a little help from a screwdriver or pry bar. You can see there's these pins in here, and that's what this rides on. So we're going to be using this more aggressive profile here. We'll see what it does. Heard good things about it, so the only thing left to do is just to try it. Just kind of reach inside there and pull these pins out. And I'm just going to put it back in for a second while I get a rag to set these suckers on. So there'll be a little pin, and there is like a little retainer. So just a little retainer in there. There's 3 of them. Just pop them out. Then it'll just slide on off. And that's it. Got yourself a disassembled Razor 170 clutch. But yeah, we'll get back at it tomorrow. See you then. Alright, let's get this clutch assembled. We'll start with this pulley here. I'm just going to take the little grease. Just going to coat that surface with a light layer. We'll slide this on. And we will line up the pinholes with the helix profile that we want to use. Drop our little retainer in there. Put one of these little pins in there. And we'll do that to all 3 of these sides here. So now we have this little spring retainer here that we're going to add these ball bearings to. This without dropping any of the little balls. I also reuse this little spring retainer from stock assembly, and that is much smoother with that ball bearing. Alright, got it. It's just a snug bit, and just a little bit more to this ID here, just to make sure everything's good and lubed. Last thing we want is to fail because we didn't put enough grease in there. Like that. And this is where maybe best to have someone help you. I'm just going to do the foot method again. So yeah, I'm going to do that real quick. And just like that, we have our newly assembled clutch. So now let's move on to our variator. So it came with some new weights already in there. It looks like these are 12 gram weights. So what I've read, I'm kind of seeing other clutch kits from all these different companies come with, it's anywhere from a 10 to a 14 gram weight setup. And so I bought all these additional variator weights, and the clutch kit I got came with some 11s, 10s, and then some 12s in the variator. And let's find out what the stock had in it. Amazon, all these weights are in grams. So I had 17 gram weights in it, and they could have been, more. They're definitely worn. So what I've seen for like the short course setups, like I said, is anywhere from 10 to 14 gram weights is what they come with or they start with. So I think we're going to start with a 13.5 gram weight setup. So it's a 14, and you always want to face them the same way. So if you have this brass face facing to the left, you want it like that on all of them. If you have this facing to the left, you want it like that on all of them. It just keeps everything copacetic and working well. So I'm going to put this face to the left. So that should give us an average of 13.5 grams. Install your ramp plate. A little bit of grease on your boss. Because that variator is going to be sliding back and forth on this thing. That's all good to throw back in the razor. So this will go on the front there, along with your washer and your nut. And you always want to blue Loctite these nuts here. We're gonna slap the clutch on. Gonna just put a little grease on there. Clutch goes on this far right shaft here. Just a little around there. And this whole pulley assembly with the clutch on there just slides right on. Give it a couple hits. Clutch is on there. Variator just, we'll have to wait to bolt this down until our belt gets here. So your variator, we'll just slide over this shaft here, all the way back. Well, we got our new belt in. So let's throw it on, and when Zoe gets home, we'll take it out for test drive and see if we're in the ballpark on this weight. Oh, it just needs a little more force. That new contra spring is pretty stiff. So you just pull on it, get it spread apart a good amount. Slide your front pulley on here. Pinch it so you're all the way back. And I'm not thread locking it this time just in case. Got it fired up, get some tension on the belt so I can get the cover on. Figured I'd take a quick video so you can kind of see what's going on. See everything spinning there. Now that clutch bell is stationary. Got back from doing a test. And And they changed the where we test, it's all paved now, so I don't feel like the results are gonna be accurate. It says we gained about 4 miles an hour, but the bottom end is where she gained a lot. It's much more quicker. So she might not have the top speed, and I feel like when she's on the track she'll have it, but it did make a huge difference. So I'll post the numbers here. It's a shame we don't have more data, but I just am using a free app. But yeah, we'll do some testing. We're gonna be there for Test and Tune at the next event, so we'll have a lot of time to play with it before she actually races. But this is what we got for now. We've made a big difference. I'm really happy with it. So we'll see when we get to the track. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out our website and like and subscribe.